Yeah, welcome back to Kodsnack, Tommy.
Thank you. Glad to be there.
Yeah, it's really great to have you back. You were a guest on the podcast in episode 406 in February, turns out. It feels like it was so long ago. So for listeners who may not have listened to the episode, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Tommy Maloteaux, and I'm the developer of the VR game Deisim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also a web developer. I started working in development 10 years ago now, mostly in Java, and doing a business application for the government in Belgium.
Ah, big stuff.
Yeah. It's very different worlds.
Oh yes. So did you do game development on the side at the same time, or did that come later?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did. I was always interested in games, so at some point I decided to try to make something myself, and I started working on games on my spare time. And that's how I made Deisim, actually. I started as a side project, and it got bigger after some time.
Yeah. So was Deisim an early project, or like what kind of games did you start with? I mean, I'm a web developer myself, so I'm always wondering what kind of games.
Actually, Deisim is the first one I made. It's just that I'm used to work very in an incremental way, so I started the game very, very small, and I incremented it, improved it over time. So I made a lot of bad decisions with that, but it's also, I learned a lot. I wanted to make something interesting to me, because otherwise I would abandon it probably after a week or so.
Yeah, that's the classic thing otherwise.
I don't like working on really small things. I got bored really quickly. I like doing big stuff, and even if I fail, it's not a big deal. But you learn more.
Yeah. I guess we should go into a bit. What kind of game is Deisim then?
Yes. So what is Deisim? Deisim is a virtual reality God simulator. To keep it simple. So it's a game that puts you in the shape of God. You start in an empty world, and you have a lot of miracles to build the terrain around you. So you can make the world as you want. Put a forest there, water there, create an ocean, plains, deserts. There are different biomes that you can put on the world, and there is autonomous humans that will pop when you start creating the world, and that will start creating cities by themselves. It's really inspired by all God games like Populous and Black and White, that probably a lot of people know. But the twist of Deisim is that you don't really give orders to the humans. It's a really indirect game. You can grab them, throw them, etc., but you cannot give them direct orders. So the idea is more than, when you are God, you can do what you want, except tell the humans what they need to do.
Which is in the beginning was a slightly confusing for me, because this felt so unusual, and then it immediately turned into a kind of a relief. So, okay, I don't need to micromanage stuff. This is great.
Yes, exactly. When you start to be a very big world, you are happy. You don't have to cut every tree for them.
yeah, exactly. It's so much more relaxing.
Yes, but it's true that something that confuses a lot of people, because it's not usual, and the first thing people try to do is to give the thing to the humans themselves. It takes a while to understand. Oh no, I don't need to do that. But it's what makes the game different at the end of the day, because God games are a thing since a long time now, but not in that way.
So you say you like to start really small and iterate. So what part of the whole game that we have today in Deisim did you start with? What was the initial idea or test like?
Actually, I started working on it, especially on the AI, because for me it was looking at the more affordable thing to do with my knowledge, because I could have a really simple entity that I can make move, etc. It's a lot of code and very few design and integration in Unity, so it was more comfortable for me with my coding background. So I started with that, and for all the VR interaction, I relied on VRTK. That was it's always a toolkit to help you make a VR integration in Unity.
Oh, nice.
It got me started really quickly. But it had its own limits too. So I had to change that after some time. But at least for prototyping, it was really, really useful to me. I focused on the AI first. So if you look early video on the games, the games look really bad, but the core of the game is already there. You already have the autonomous humans, the tiles with the different terrains, etc. I just polished a lot of it. It's really incremental, so I added stuff one step after the other. Every change is quite small, but when you take the 4 years, it's really a different game now.
I bet. And I guess it's really, it's a pretty powerful thing, I suppose, to get the AI or some kind of AI in place early, because then you already have so much stuff happening whenever you launch the game. It's already fun to just look down at the landscape and see humans moving about. It gives this sense of a living world pretty early on, I would guess.
Yes, exactly. And since I'm not the best AI developer in the world, sometimes stuff happened that was not exactly plans. No. So it was kind of magic,
Yeah, exactly. What is going on here?
I created life.
Yes. Mad with powers.
It's kind of fun because it's a parallel to the game. You are also creating the humans. It's not always happening like you expect it to happen. It's kind of fun, but it was a good way to start anyway, because I had a lot of coding to do, and it was easy to test, because you just press play and the humans do their stuff, and it was easy to see, to iterate quickly.
Yeah. So had you written sort of AI kind of code before, or was that a learning project?
Not really. It was more a learning project. I used to read a lot of code because when I was younger, I did scripting for Ultima Online private servers in C#.
Nice.
I saw a lot of code in that code base that inspired me for some stuff. But it was from scratch. It's my first AI project. I made a ton of mistakes, of course.
Of course.
It's not exactly. It's a really like a state machine. It's not a very complex architecture for the AI, like a behavior tree or things like that.
Yeah, that's because that's one of those things when I think about game development, some kind of AI is always needed, and I do realize that it can probably be pretty simple, but AI is one of those words that sounds kind of, scary and complicated, and like it could be its own years of big code before you get anywhere, but that's not really the case.
I realize that for a lot of projects, when people say AI, it's just switch case.
It's very artificial.
But AI is a better buzzword. No, of course, there's also way more complex AI for some games. But
of course.
A lot of games really have really simple AIs, I think. When you see you can make something like Deisim with very simple code, and you don't need a very complex system. It's true that to add different behaviors, it's more complex than if I had behavior trees, for example.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also super fast
because
it's so simple that it's really super fast. So
Yeah.
for a lot of agents, like in a game, it's quite good.
Yeah. So are there any resources you can recommend for people who want to get started writing their own game?
I read a book that was really good. It was Artificial Intelligence for Games. I will send you the reference if you want, so you can share it with your audience.
Yes.
And it's a book that I wish I had read it before I made the game, because it had a lot of really good practice and insight of it's a good way to make an AI, and it covers really different use case with different solutions. So
nice.
It's not the Bible with one way to do the stuff. It's really a good way to learn, because there is that possibility, that one, the strength and weaknesses of that one are this, and the same for the other. So because there is no silver bullet every day in development, So it's good to know the strengths and weaknesses of the possibilities you have, and to choose the right one for your use case.
Yeah, of course. So how many agents can you have inside Deisim if the map gets really large?
I think the more I saw was like 1,000.
That's quite a few.
1,000 humans, yeah. It's of course, when the humans are far from the player, the AI is a bit simpler, because I don't need all the wells and the bells and whistles.
No. Okay.
But it's still not approximated. The movements are still computed, for example. They are still gathering stuff, etc. It's not abstracted when they are far from you. I just remove the animations and stuff like that, because you don't see them. So
yeah, I guess that's a pretty big optimization.
But if you, for example, if you prevent them to go somewhere, they will never be there. It's not okay if I go far from the humans. They will start doing stuff not possible, because it's simpler to encode and will be better for performance. So that means you really have a good simulation.
Yeah,
it's one of the key of the games that I wanted to be a real simulation.
Yeah.
You don't have to give them the tree, for example, but if you take a tree and put them near the city, they will gather it there.
Yeah.
And so it will be quicker, etc.
Oh yes.
It's not needed. You don't need to do it, but you can do it, and there is a feedback directly. I think it's what makes the game believable, despite its graphics. It's the reactivity of the people.
Yeah, and then the humans gradually evolve through history as well, right?
Yes, exactly. So they start like in a kind of primitive age, and they can evolve. The goal is to make them quit the planet, so in the spatial age. Currently, there is all the eras, even the futuristic age is there now. So you can have really different world when you play, because when you start there is almost nothing, like just smaller houses and the trees, and in the end it's skyscrapers with roads everywhere and really big cities.
Wow.
A bit like Blade Runner,
Oh, wow.
It looks less good, I must admit it. But
that's just a question of iteration, right?
But the idea is there. I wanted to put a lot of neon stuff, etc., but it's too demanding for the Quest, unfortunately.
Oh, yes. Yeah, so we haven't talked about that yet either. Which platforms can you run Deisim on today?
So Deisim, it's only in VR for now. but I'm also working on a non-VR version because I had a lot of requests for that. But currently, it's playable on Steam via Steam VR, and it is on Viveport and also on the Oculus Rift store, and now in the Oculus Quest App Lab store.
Oh yes,
it's not on the official store, but I'm in discussion with Oculus to make it happen because the reception of the game was quite good on App Lab, so give me a lever to discuss with them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and App Lab was one of the really big news which happened since last time we spoke, right? I think that came just after we released the episode.
Yes, I think it happened just after that. Exactly, and it changed the game a lot, actually. It's a really big change in the ecosystem.
Yeah, so before that, if you wanted to run on the Quest, you needed side quests. Was that it? And sort of side loading to run the game?
Yes, the problem was not the side loading itself. It's the fact that you needed to sign in with a developer account with Oculus.
Yeah.
So to allow to sideload to your Quest, you had to sign with the developer account. So a lot of developer account was created to make it happen. But some people were also afraid to do that because they didn't want it to break their Quest.
Yeah.
So a lot of people was not very eager to do that.
Yeah. So first you needed the developer account, and then you needed side
then
quest.
you could sideload the game via ADB or SideQuest. Of course. SideQuest was more like the front page to find all the games. It's still the case actually.
Yeah.
But it was also an app to help with ADB for people who didn't know how it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, I went through the steps and they were reasonably easy in themselves, but it's still quite a big detour from just being able to find and launch the game.
Actually, Shane and Ola from SideQuest did a great job to make it really easy and understandable. But it's a lot of friction, and
exactly.
The less steps you have, the better it is. With App Lab, it's really better.
So what is their pitch for App Lab? Is it that it's sort of a store of non-approved games, so to speak, or how do they?
Yes, it's mostly that. Actually, it's like a parallel store with the same kind of backend from Oculus.
Yeah.
You can upload your game there. There is not the same restriction, so they don't have to approve it before. But when you submit it, they will try it and see there is some VRC you have to comply. For example, not too much frame drops. You have to have a 60 FPS, I think. There is also no porn or extreme violence. The basic rules. But it's mostly open for all kind of game and experiences, and it's like a proving ground for the games. For the dev, it's better because there is less friction and it's easier to give the game to the people. Because for them, when they purchase it, it's like any other games in their Quest, and it is on their library, and they can install it directly from there. Yeah, and for Oculus, it's also easier because they don't have to deal with a lot of developer accounts to create.
Must be
obviously, and they are also taking their cut of the sales on App Lab games.
Oh yeah, of course. So it's
also, of course.
Yeah.
The big problem with App Lab is the discoverability because. Actually, you can't browse App Lab games directly on your Quest.
Which feels really strange. I mean, I knew about App Lab and I knew about Deisim, but I still had a hard time figuring out how to find it.
Exactly. when you know the exact name of the game, you can find it, because if you type the exact name in the search, you will find it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of strange because you have
Yeah.
all the official store results, and then in the end of the list you have something that say there is also AppLab games, and you have to click that, and then it will say okay, and this is Deisim.
Okay.
So it's still a lot of steps and friction.
Mm-hmm.
And also you can't gift an AppLab game to a friend.
Oh no!
It's a strange decision, but
yeah.
I think they were really afraid of allowing something so bad that it will do bad publicity.
Yeah,
for
I
them.
guess so. But I mean, still, browsing it wouldn't hurt, would it?
I think maybe it could happen later.
Yeah.
They started really defensive, and maybe some walls will be broken after some time.
Hopefully, it's like you said, like start small and iterate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By chance, SideQuest is really doing a great job for discoverability. So there's a lot of people that discover the AppLab games via this website.
Yeah. I mean, I was really positively surprised by SideQuest. It's like, wow, there's so much stuff here. I had no idea. so they're really on the opposite side. They have the problems of discovering or getting SideQuest itself running, and they have to provide lots of instructions. But once you're in there, you find lots of interesting stuff, almost by happy accident.
Yes, there is a lot of game and experiences, and really there is so many things, and every day there is more. Actually, they have a lot of work to approve the games, because even on SideQuest there is a really basic first try to see if this is at least something good enough. Mm-hmm. The bar is really low. It's just to avoid to have really crappy things in SideQuest, because there is so many requests. It's a good place for indies in general, and to discover things that are different. There's also things on SideQuest that will never be on AppLab. For example, all the Dr. Beef stuff. It's I don't know if you know that, but it's emulated for all games like Half-Life, Doom, things like that.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah, and that kind of game will never be available on AppLab, because there is that IP issue.
Oh, yeah.
You have to own the original game, I think. Mm-hmm. It's just the mod.
Yeah.
But it's too shady for AppLab, I think.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I need to try those someday.
So there is always something to discover on SideQuest that will not be on AppLab.
Yeah. It's not like AppLab steals everything from SideQuest, so to speak.
So it doesn't solve exactly all the issue with the developer accounts, but I think for the big majority of users, they will just discover the game on SideQuest and get it on AppLab and play it there.
Oh yeah. So I guess then that AppLab hasn't made a huge difference yet to Deisim.
Actually, it's quite the opposite. Because it's because the fact that you don't have to sign with a developer account made a lot of people did the AppLab purchase, and they didn't. It was not the case before. Cool. Because too much friction. So it changed a lot the sales of Deisim, and it allowed me to work full time on the games.
Oh yeah!
So it's quite a big difference.
That's a clear difference.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because it
was selling well before, but the AppLab really changed the game for me.
Wow. Yeah. So that's the other big thing that happened since last time we talked.
Maybe it's also because I think a lot of young people and children are playing the game, and that kind of players will never sign in with a developer account.
Makes sense.
So maybe I'm more impacted than others, but I don't think so. I think it's just way easier for the players, so they tend to come in and try.
Yeah, so
it seems more limited to English-speaking people.
Mm-hmm.
probably because SideQuest itself is in English, and it's really an English community.
Yeah, I guess so.
But it's still a lot of people playing the game now. There is more people on AppLab than on SteamVR.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It gives you the idea of the strength of the ecosystem. So it's really impressive.
Yeah, definitely. So Quest is the biggest platform then right now.
By far, yes.
Okay.
It's really the other one are really small now, and it's probably because of the price, because it's so cheap. The Quest 2 is it's really cheap compared to the other ones.
Yeah, exactly, and
it's also really convenient, to be honest. I even use it to work now. So,
you do. Cool.
It's a really practical headset.
So you basically do your development on or for or using the Quest now.
Yes, I use it, but there is that thing that they call AirLink that allow you to make the Quest behave like if it was a Rift. So I develop with the Quest in AirLink mode, and then I deploy it on the Quest to test it in standalone.
Cool.
And so with one headset I can do everything. Super practical for me.
Yeah, that's really convenient.
It's also lightweight. I can take it and go work everywhere I want. Super useful.
Yeah, it's.
I remember in 2016 when I had to put those lighthouse things in the wall.
The Vive things.
And a lot of cables, and it was super cool. But it's way more convenient now.
Yeah. So what kind of machine do you use for development on the computer side, on the code writing side?
I have a desktop with an i7. I can't remember which one, but it's an Hexacore. I have a big NVIDIA GPU. It's not yet an RTX.
Nobody can buy those.
It's so complex to get one now.
Yeah.
But actually, I have to make the game run on the Quest, so I don't need the top-end GPU either.
No, that's true. Is there I guess there's a pretty big difference between the power of your development machine and the Quest 2. Still, or is the gap?
Yes, on the GPU side, it's really different, and it's not just that the GPU is less powerful; it's also a different architecture with different problem to solve. For example, transparency is a big issue on mobile GPUs.
Oh, okay.
Because basically, a desktop GPU is. I'm not specialist in rendering, just to give you an idea. So don't take my words as the Bible. But a desktop GPU is rendering the whole image in one time, and a mobile GPU is slicing the screen tiles, and it's rendering one tile after the other. And so it's very powerful apparently, but when you start doing things like transparency or really big things that are on multiple tiles, it can cause other issue that you don't have with a desktop GPU. So that means you have to make some trade-offs to make it run good on a mobile GPU. But it's still surprisingly powerful, to be honest.
Cool.
You can already do quite a big Deisim world with the Quest. But it's interesting because on the Quest the game is GPU bound, and on PC the game is CPU bound.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because on the PC at some point it's the AI. There's just too much to handle. And on the Quest, you have the GPU limit before that. So
that's interesting.
It's interesting because I was thinking I would have the same issue with the CPU on the Quest, but actually the CPU is quite good.
Yeah, that's definitely unexpected. Yeah, it's important to try stuff on the platform.
So the game is almost the same with on PC and on Quest, except that on the Quest I had to remove the shadows because otherwise it was too demanding, and also I had to limit the world because it's the advantage of having a platform like that. I know the limit of the system, so I put a limit on the world size to avoid big frame drops.
Yeah.
On PC, it's more difficult because every PC is different. You don't know in advance what the computer is capable of. And so on PC, you can make bigger worlds with shadows. But if you have the Quest with Airlink, that means you can actually have the best of both worlds because you can play without the cable, but with the shadows and the big wall.
Oh yeah, so you get the shader look as well.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
So Airlink works pretty well then, I take it. I've never tried it myself.
Yeah, it works quite good. Yeah, I use it really often and it works very well. You have to have a really good Wi-Fi connection, I think.
Oh, that makes sense.
I have one, so my router is just on my desk, so for me it's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those problems you solve it once and then it's great.
Yeah, exactly. So I probably have the best setup for that. But the feedback I see is that Airlink is quite good in general. And if you can't have Airlink, there is also the possibility of doing it with the USB cable.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's just a link that you still have that ability to emulate a Rift with your Quest.
Yeah, that one's pretty easy to set up nowadays too, isn't it?
Yeah, it's also just one cable, so it's simpler than what it was with the Vive, for example.
So I guess has there been a lot of changes to how you develop the game since you went full time with it?
I changed a lot the way I worked, but it was mostly to retrieve some kinds of life-work balance. Because when you work 4 years on part-time after your job, you have some bad habits. But I try to remove now to spend more time with my family. But I also started to work with a new audio designer to improve the audio part of the game that was not good before. And I think it's important because when I try to have something really immersive, and the sound is an important part of it.
That's true.
I was kind of pushing that for later, but now that I have the time, because when you start working with someone else, you know that you also take a lot of time to explain things, discuss, giving feedback, etc. Even if he's really autonomous and good, you always lose some time for that.
Yeah,
so it's good because now I have time to do that. I also spend more time doing QA. QA. I try to test more my game before I release it, and also a lot of technical support to people because there is more players, so there is also more technical support requests.
Yeah, I bet. So how do you like to work? Do you like to structure your workday really thoroughly, or are you more, let's see what comes up today and take it as it comes?
I don't plan too much what I'm doing because I think I have the chance to be able to work on what I love. So I try to feel okay today. I have goals, what I want to make this month, and then today, what's my feeling? What I would like to work? Is it on sounds.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to do more stuff in Unity, integrating stuff. Or okay, I want to code. I don't want to mess with VR today. Sometimes I don't want to put the headset because it's too warm, for example.
Oh yeah.
When there is an heat wave, you are happy that you have some things you can do that doesn't need the headset.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if it's lightweight, when it's too hot, it's complicated to play with that.
Yeah, it's no fun.
Yeah. Actually, it's why I started working on a non-VR version of the game. It's because sometimes it's too hot and I don't want to put the headset. So I'm happy to really be able to try stuff without VR.
Yeah.
Then I realized that okay, it's fun. I start testing stuff, and then I realized that I'm playing my own game. So okay, maybe it's fun even without VR. So
yeah, that's a good indicator.
When I realized I lost 20 minutes, it's okay.
Yes. This is promising.
There is something to dig.
Yeah, exactly.
Even if a lot of the cool thing of the game is the immersion. Yeah, I think in 2D it's also quite fun to play because I kept the interactivity of everything, So I simulate the end with the mouse, but you can do the same thing.
Yeah,
so it's quite fun.
So what was it easy to get it working in 2D, so to speak, or? Was it big?
Actually, not as big as of a deal because, as I said, I had to remove VRTK at some point. VRTK was really geared towards the Vive.
Mm-hmm.
So when different stuff happened and SteamVR 2.0 was released with a different way of working, etc., VRTK was not compatible with that.
Oh,
and they started to make a different VRTK that was really different, probably better for people who don't know how to code, but for people with a coding background, it's really a different way to work, and I prefer the first one. So I say, okay, it's time for me to remove VRTK. I was more comfortable with Unity and all the stuff of VR, so I said, okay, no, I can do it myself. And so I made an interaction system myself in code. And since I have that web dev background, I decided to make an abstraction layer before the interaction layer. So I made it to be able to include different SDK easily. So Oculus, TeamVR, etc. But it ends up also really useful to make the 2D version because I just had to implement a different interactor and that will call it a day.
Nice.
For the game, actually there is almost no difference. The game thinks that it's VR, but it's just the mouse. There is some edge case that I have to deal with, of course, because it's less powerful that having a full 3D environment and you can't move the same way, but I do some approximation. The complexity is in the implementation of the 2D mode. So it's cool.
Yeah, really cool.
That also means that I can both versions can evolve in the same time, and also that the saves will be compatible between the versions. So it's cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool as well.
Yeah, one thing that really frustrates me, I love isometric games since I'm young.
Yeah,
and one thing that really frustrates me in VR is that you are not able to do isometric view. It's not really possible because you have the perspective. So it's. For me, it's kind of a relief that finally be able to have the board version. I can see my world in isometric view, and I see the world in perspective with the full immersion.
We call it retro mode.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of the populous mode,
Yeah, I agree. It's still It's a very nice way of looking at a game world like that. Nostalgic, I guess, but still.
Exactly. But it's also a really powerful tool because it allows me to iterate really quickly for some things. I end up testing everything in VR, of course, but for the first iteration of some things, it can give you a good feeling if something will be good or not, even without trying in VR. So it's...
Is it possible for regular players to try the non-VR version as well, or is it?
I share sometimes on my Discord. I shared builds with people on it. It's not yet available for the broader audience because I don't feel like it's really ready for that. But
makes sense.
You can already play 80% of the game or something with that version. So it's already quite good, to be honest.
Yeah.
I will probably put it on Steam. I'm not sure yet if I will give it with the VR version or put it on a separate listing.
Oh yeah, that's a tricky question as well.
Yeah, but mostly because I don't want to have... the game is made with VR in mind first. I don't want to have a lot of bad reviews on the Steam page of the VR version because there is obviously more people without a VR headset.
Oh yes.
And maybe the game is not that good without VR. I don't really know, to be honest.
No, it's hard to say.
There's so much time that I'm working on it now. I'm not a good judge anymore.
No.
So I'll probably put on a separate list. Yeah, it's a tough question. And it's also why I'm not going a lot on that direction. It's more to help me to work faster.
Yeah.
But I know there is people waiting that. It's a difficult decision to make.
Yeah, I mean, of course, because as a player, it feels so obvious that, it would be awesome if I could also get the game over here on my my 27-inch 4K screen or something. But it has to all work out nicely as well.
Yes, what's fun in VR it's not as fun in a 2D world on a screen because you don't have the immersion. Yeah. But you have more comfort.
Yeah, so, exactly.
Yeah. My idea was maybe you can build, really relax on your desktop, and then you experience your world with the VR headset when it's like you want.
Yeah.
And it can give you a different perspective, and maybe.
Yeah, of course. I see myself like having Deisim running on the side when working during the day, scrolling around a bit, moving a few things just to relax, and then I can play seriously, so to speak, in the evening.
Actually, I should send you a test build so you can give me some feedback about it. You'll tell me how much time you lost on your work day.
I haven't gotten any work done in 2 weeks. But the people are really happy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But my focus is still on VR, of
course.
Because I think it's the core of the game and it's the way it's meant to be played.
Yeah. So is it a lot of work to keep the game sort of in sync between the different VR platforms?
It used to be a lot of work. With the abstraction layer I made, it's easier now. And it should be even easier in the future because there is that thing that's called OpenXR. I don't know if you know it, but
I've heard of it at least.
Yeah, it's the Chronos standardization for VR and also AR actually. That a lot of the big companies are participating in, and it's not yet 100% ready. I think now. But it's starting to be possible to implement it in Unity. Okay. I did an experiment last week, and it was working. I had to handle some small issues, but I think soon it will be really easier to do multi-platform because you will just have to implement one thing and it will work. Of course, if you want specific vendor things, it will be more complicated. There is extension to the standard, but
It's also a bit bit like web development there.
Yeah.
I want to use these features of this browser. Okay.
Yes, you know the drill.
Yeah, just need to
I
find a
think
good way to do it.
it's the same way everywhere, because in game development we have less tools to do so. I think.
Yeah.
It's one thing I realized. It's in game development you have way less tools to do package management. For testing too, there's nothing else. It's like you see, it's a younger industry,
Yeah, that's true.
Different. Also, that the people who work in game dev probably leave early to work on something else.
Oh yeah.
Because there was less lessons learned, etc.
Oh yeah. There's always a lot. So if someone was would ask you about starting on their own little VR game today, would you recommend that they focus on creating it for one platform, or what's a good way to think about it?
There is two ways. I personally think that it's better to work for all platforms, because yes, the Quest is the leader today, but it was not 2 years ago, and it will maybe not be in 2 years too, because VR is changing quickly.
Yeah.
I think an abstraction layer is not that hard, actually.
But currently you have to do it yourself somehow.
Yes.
Okay.
With that OpenXR, I think it will be easier to target one and to have run it on many. So it's probably the best thing to do if you will start now, is to try to implement OpenXR directly. But I will definitely suggest to focus on the Quest first, because it's where the people are. I don't see things changing quickly.
No.
But a surprise may happen, because you
never know.
You never know what other manufacturers have in their plans. There's obviously a big advantage for Facebook now, but there is also different companies that want to be in the market. So I would suggest working with the Quest, having it running on App Lab, but having run it also on other platforms, because it doesn't cost that much actually.
And just get the thing in place.
Yes. But it's true that for the prototyping, you don't have to support everything with the Quest. If what you make is fun, it will be time to do the abstraction layer and then to support it for different platforms.
Yeah, exactly. That's good advice.
It's just not just Steam VR, because there is also the Chinese headsets like Pico.
I had no idea.
There's the Pico Neo 3. It's as powerful as the Quest, but it's for the Chinese market. It's smaller than Facebook, of course, but it's increasing quickly. I think at some point it will be a big actor in China.
Yeah, probably. And I guess it has its own store and everything like that.
Exactly. And its own SDK too.
Yeah.
But for example, Deisim runs on it, and it works as good as the Quest. So
the abstraction layer pays off.
Yeah, exactly. It's also my web dev background came from that. I quickly made a setup of that abstraction layer, and also a system to have built for all the platforms. So I just press one button and it do a deliverable for every store. So for me, I just make the game, and then having it work on all the different headsets, I just did it once.
And,
so mostly that. Of course, sometimes you have small details to fix, but
of course.
It's just small things.
It's so powerful to have that in place.
Yeah, I will suggest automating the build process.
Yeah.
I'm using a good tool for that. That's named Super Unity Build. It's on GitHub. I will share with you the link if you want.
Yeah, definitely. We'll link everything
it's something really useful to have a good build process.
Yeah.
Because there's different strategy. Some people prefer to have a branch for each platform. I personally prefer to have everything on master.
Yeah.
And I do feature branch, but not a branch per platform because it's too much hassle. And I don't feel comfortable merging Unity files for some reason. So.
No, I can't. I've never tried it, but I can imagine.
It's kind of readable, but it's some kind of YAML. YAML file.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
No, nobody really likes YAML, right?
Yes, I don't know why we use that. I never understood why.
It's one of those
kind
things.
Of infrastructure guy thing. Who loves tabulations? No, I don't know.
Exactly. Somebody clearly likes it, but I never met the person.
On my previous job, sometimes we lost days of work just figure on an issue that was just a tabulation in a YAML file at the end of the day. Super annoying.
Yeah. We haven't used that much YAML at work, but we have run into those issues as well.
So if I can avoid merging a YAML file, I'm happy.
Yeah, of course. And it feels like it doesn't feel like it would make any sense to have different platform branches for a setup like Deisim. It feels like what you have is really the optimal setup for.
Actually, it works well, so I think I find a good balance. Maybe I will have some issue at some point when there is too much platforms. I don't know, but honestly, So the size of the executable may be a bit too big because of that. But I try to during the build process, I put a preprocessor so I can remove part of the code. That's not needed. So I think that problem is solved too with my build process.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would take a lot for it to become a really big problem.
Yes, it will be time for me to to find another solution. But also, I don't know, because when you make an application, you have to maintain it for years. When you make a game, it's not that usual to maintain it for that long, I think.
No,
unless it's a really big success.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I will have really a problem at some point. Even if for Deisim, I will probably continue improving it because I think the game is suits well that idea of adding stuff over time.
Exactly, and it feels like with the development process you've had so far, you've probably solved most of those problems of maintaining over time for Deisim.
Yes, exactly.
I think you have the process in place.
That's the advantage. Yes, I had a lot of issue really early because I did that early access. So it will not guarantee that the game is super polished in the end for the release, but at least I know I faced already a lot of problems.
Yeah, exactly.
And I also had to do migrations between Unity versions, between different SDKs. So I already paid a lot of technical debt. So it's cool.
And the feature updates just keep on coming. So clearly things are working pretty well.
Yes, exactly. I can also use the new Unity stuff that was not available when I started, like the job system. For example, I just made a new pathfinding system because before the pathfinding was really simple. Basically, the humans were just looking in the direction they wanted to go and they walk on a straight line. No, there is really a pathfinding system. They can't cross mountains. They will not cross oceans. They will try to avoid swamps and things like that. And it's made with the job system of Unity, which is really cool to make work for the multi-threaded systems.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it can make a pretty big difference, right?
Yes, because I needed to implement that, but also I needed to not ask too much stuff to the CPU because I was already CPU bound on PC.
Oh yes.
So I say, okay, how will I do that?
Yeah.
It's is it possible? And then I saw that job system stuff, which is not 100% ready, but it's stable enough to be used. So I decided to take that route, and it works quite well actually.
That's nice.
It's a different way of coding, but it's fun because you really see the difference. How it's made to give the best thing to the CPU. I learned a lot about how a CPU worked actually.
That's fun too.
Yes. If you like low level things, it's true that developers in your era don't know that well how the low level stuff works. It used to be.
Yeah.
For example, I did C++ at school, but I know a lot of devs nowadays are not learning C++ anymore.
Yeah.
Directly Java, C.NET or stuff like that, which is more high level.
Yeah.
It's true that you have more things to understand now with all the package and the dependency and everything, but it can still be useful to understand how stuff works in the low level to make good code, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not like the stuff goes away just because you don't know about it. Sooner or later, something will pop up and you won't be able to understand it unless you can dig down a bit and find out what's really going on. I mean,
it's true. Yeah, actually, we are really making really unoptimized code now because we just don't care about it.
Yeah, and that makes me a little bit sad sometimes. I mean, I think back to like we were talking about, like old games on the Amiga or any old computer where developers really learn to get everything out of the hardware. And I just sit there wondering what kind of games could we have today on our machines if we were able to use the hardware to the same extent. We should be able to do so much more.
Yes, exactly. But also the cost will be insane.
Yeah. I mean, you would never be able to finish the game.
Yes, exactly.
Imagine the performance.
But I realize it because I did a lot of optimization for Deisim because I started in a very naive way, and I fall into every pitfalls I could find. And I had to, that's how rendering works. That's how a 3D engine works, because I never made a 3D engine, so I had no idea. I was super naive and I thought, that should be possible. But in fact, no, that thing is not possible because it's the limit of the system. It's an abstraction, and in the end of the day, everything is a lie.
Exactly.
And you have to understand how the light works to be able to make something with smoke and mirrors. Again, it's just smoke and mirrors. Actually.
Oh, yeah. It's just a question of picking the right smoke.
Exactly. But for Deisim, I made a lot of decisions that are actually against all those principles. And I had to optimize and to do what you did, actually, to what you say, to take the best of the hardware. Because, for example, rendering a lot of dynamic stuff like I do is really bad practice. But for my game, I have to do it. Because I can't pre-build something. The user built it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had to find solution to reduce the draw calls and things like that with GPU instancing and different techniques that exist. There was a lot of stuff already available in Unity. Actually, you don't have to code crazy stuff, but it's you have to understand how it works and to design some stuff that works with that. For example, you can have GPU instancing, but everything need to have the same material. So you have to have the same texture for everything.
Okay, yeah.
And when I started, every object has its own material, its own texture, everything.
Why not?
The naive way, and then you discover that the game is super laggy when you have something smaller than what we have today on the Quest on a beefy PC. So you can really do bad things if you don't know.
Yeah.
I think it may become a more important subject in the future because with all we have, the climatic change, etc. I think as developers, we will have at some point to think a bit more about all the resource we are wasting.
Yeah, I mean, and because there's so much of that waste going on everywhere.
Sure.
I think
architecture with 10 microservices for something that is barely used could be just one server and things like that.
Or just the whole build system I have for getting my React app running locally. Why is there so much stuff going on? Why is the fan on my computer spinning when I'm just developing a web app? Is this the way it should be?
And all the continuous integrations
for
the project you don't maintain anymore, and things like that. Then just but it runs because nobody cares about it. There's so much stuff, I think. I think game development give a good idea about a lot of stuff, how to improve that. Of course, not everything translates directly, but since I have one foot in every world, it's something that I see from my point of view. There is things to learn in the game side about optimization, and there is things to learn in the business app side about the industrialization of development. Maybe more test, things like that.
It's always
having more tool to test too.
That too.
But it's not trivial to make because testing a game like this requires doing a simulation of someone playing the game. Not easy.
So is it all sort of testing by hand, or can you have some kind of automation around the testing?
I have used test. I have unit test for some kind of stuff, but that's mostly code and that are really important for the game. That's why I want to be sure to not break it. But everything else is mostly testing by hands, doing QA. So
makes sense.
It's a lot of manual testing. It's hard to automate. There's not really tools for that I know.
No, exactly. And of course, it's a game.
It's probably easier for a 2D game because you can record the mouse. But for me it's harder, and especially the fact that everything is dynamic, so you can't really do things that you can predict in advance.
No, exactly.
I can't predict that much things in the game, to be honest.
No. It's all edge cases.
It's all it's what makes the game living.
Exactly. And I'm scrolling through the Discord. I mean, you have a lot of users to get input from as well.
Yes, I have a lot of feedback from the players. I try to really listen to them. I see them as part of the team, I'm alone on that project mostly, so it's a good way for me to get some feedback. Also to discuss some idea, because sometimes an idea seems good to me, but when I discuss with them, I realize that, okay, it's just good in my head. And also, I also see when I do a new release and a lot of people are coming in the Discord and saying, hey, can I do that? Probably I failed something there. For example, in the previous version, a lot of people were asking, do I get iron and other metals? People were not getting it because the humans were digging ore. And then they had to smelt it into ingots.
Okay.
And nobody understood that. So, I removed that part of the game, and now it's way simpler. They just gather the ore and directly convert it into ingots.
Nice and simple.
And instead, I replaced the buildings that smelt the ingots, and now they are making tools and weapons and things like that. So more obvious for them that it's something that they have to craft.
Yeah.
It seems to work better. I have
Yeah.
less. I'm waiting a bit because it's the holidays, so maybe there's just less people, but it seems to be better.
Yeah.
And I think you have a lot to. Yeah, you have to listen the people who play the game.
Yeah.
And it's also the same with business apps. Of course, you have to listen to users and understand how it is from his point of view.
Yeah.
Because it's way different than yours. You know how everything works. You know how a computer works. You know how it's made.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I know what's broken as well. And maybe it might be stuff that nobody else cares about. But if no one had told me, I would have spent lots of time fixing something that nobody else notices.
yes, because something that feels important for you.
Yeah.
Maybe not that important for the users, actually.
No, exactly. Who cares? I want to play the game.
We have that thing as developers. We like fixing stuff and challenges. And so sometimes some things feel cool and we want to fix it.
Yeah.
It's just wasted time, you know.
Yeah.
But there is that challenge, that bugs to fix.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if it worked like this. So is there anything particular you're focusing on for Deisim right now?
So now that I made that new pathfinding stuff, I'm really starting to work on my biggest update, the one that I was waiting to be able to work full-time on before I started. I wanted to make kingdoms and wars. So it's a really big thing.
That's big. Yeah.
Yes, it's a big thing. But also I try to keep with my philosophy of not giving direct orders. So I'm trying to find ways to have kingdoms, wars, that the players will be able to start wars, but without giving orders directly.
That's really interesting.
I'm trying to find inspiration in games like Crusader Kings. I think I already mentioned that in the previous podcast. I think. Yeah. It was a really abstract idea at that point, but now it's more concrete. And that idea of having autonomous kingdoms fighting each other, and the player can interact. For example, you can kill the king, and this realm will be split between his heirs. So there is one kingdom, then it's split. There is two kingdoms, and they will. And every king will have perks of personality, you know. So, for example, one can be a pacifist, the other one can be a mad king, you know. And so, depending of the king, the kingdom will behave differently.
Wow.
And so you will not be able to tell how the kingdom will behave, but you will be able to put another king on the throne, you know, by different ways.
I feel like this is this might make the 2D version of the game even more sort of valuable, because there will be even more things going on that you might want to sort of follow on the side.
Yes, exactly. This is the challenge too. It's how to make things simple enough for VR, but complex enough to be interesting. And also that idea that you don't have to give order yourself. So it's a lot of constraints, but I think constraints is what makes things interesting in the end of the day. So it's what will make the things unique. And I think with the kingdoms, the world will be so living. It will be way more interesting to see that happening. Yeah. And so because then I will need the kingdoms to build bigger structures, you know. For the cities currently are building factories and stuff like that. But I want for the end of the game that the humans build a really big spaceship to leave the planet, and that will need some kind of government because it will be a more structured thing. So it will be need resource from all the planet, etc. So it will be something like an goal. Yeah. It's a big that will require the kingdom. So everything will be connected in the end, but the goal is, as always, to have a big sandbox and to do what you want. There is that story mode if you want to really help them to quit the planet. But it's just an excuse to make you play with small soldiers and people, in the end of the day.
Yeah. Just
if when you play you lose 1 hour messing around with stuff, it's what I call a success.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like you really have a solid idea of what the game is about, and adding all this stuff makes it more interesting, but it's still sort of really well aligned with the whole core idea.
Yes, I think it's one pitfall is that when you have something like Deisim, you want to just add things. You can add a lot of stuff indefinitely if you want, because it's an infinite game, so the approach I took was to have that core values of the game, and I try everything I have to stick with that core values. So not giving too much information to the players, but still give enough information that he understands what he's doing. Relying more on observation, deduction, but not too complicated, because in VR you don't want to think about stuff for ages. It's not comfortable, so you have to get it quickly. And that immersion and interactivity with the world. And also not giving direct orders. And I think with those pillars, you have what Deisim is.
I'm really fascinated about things like that when there actually are those clear central pillars, and how it sort of can guide the game in this case. I mean, it might be an application as well, I guess. But I always think about there's an old space strategy game or RTS called Homeworld. It's like from the late 90s, I think, maybe.
I remember that game, Homeworld, yes.
Yeah, it looked really fantastic, and was those big space battles. And I remember reading an article about the development of the game, and their sort of guiding or core thing that they fell back to was the idea of a big space battle where every ship left these little colored trails behind them, so that it sort of looked like a big bowl of spaghetti, a big ball of spaghetti. And that was somehow the guiding thing for the game, that, okay, if we have questions about what the game should be, go back and look at the bowl of spaghetti and see, does this idea fit into this big space battle thing with the trails behind them? So, I mean,
everything starts with a vision like this.
Exactly.
It's fun. And for me, that vision was I don't know if you remember, but there is an old the Simpson episode where Lisa have a small box with small humans in it, and each time she opened the box, the humans are more evolved, and first it's just humans with nothing, and then she opened it again and it's like the Renaissance, and then she opened it again and it's like a futuristic city, and I always been fascinated by that. And it's like what I want to achieve with Deisim is that idea that there's that thing that evolves so much, and it's over time the world is really changing. And it works because I have feedback from people saying, oh, I love the game, but then I'm disappointed because when it's industrial age, they start to cut all the trees and yeah, it's exactly like the real world, Let
me tell you a story.
It's fun because it's exactly what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
It's that idea, okay, humans are doing... have a lot of impact on the world. Even if in the game it's so abstracted, you kind of get that still. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I remember that kind of annoyed. I thought about it back when I was playing Populous as well. That it was kind of sad that when you started the level, the world was nice and hilly and had little lakes and oceans. And then by the time I was done, I had flattened everything to one level, and it was like his equal-sized castles everywhere.
Exactly. Make the world as boring as possible.
Yeah.
Everything flat.
It's depressing.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
by chance, then you press the Armageddon button.
Yes.
Everything was over.
Yeah.
You could start a new world.
Yeah. I loved building the city walls in Populous 2 as well. Sort of blocking off large parts of the map. Really, yeah.
No, if you like the Homeworld, there is that game on the Quest. And even in SteamVR, that's Eternal Starlight. It's a really cool game. It's what you say, but in VR.
Oh,
basically, and
really
love it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Any other games you want to give tips about that people should try?
Not that much in my style, but I also played Smash Drums, and it's really cool. Mm-hmm. It's also an App Lab game when you play drums, and I really loved it too.
Yeah,
the 2 games I played recently.
Yeah, I'm so bad at finding the time to play games.
And I'm happy because now I finally find some time to play games.
Yeah, it's research.
It was difficult to do it before because I had so few times.
Yeah.
A side project like this, it's really time consuming.
Yeah, to say the least. Yeah, we've talked for a long while now. This has been super interesting. Is there anything else you would like to add?
I think we said almost everything I could say, I think.
We can always do another episode later on.
Yeah, otherwise, yes, we can always do another episode. I'm always glad to be there and to discuss with you.
Yeah, and everyone should who's interested should also go to your Discord server, of course.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in touch with everybody there. I also love to answer questions and also get some ideas from people. Yeah, because sometimes people have really cool ideas of things that I never thought of, and it's really cool to be able to have that that big brain that a lot of people are making. That hive mind.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yes.
And of course, we mentioned it already, but links to everything about this will be in the episode information in your podcast player and on the web as well, of course. So everyone should be able to find.
I on you on that. Yeah. All the links and the books too.
Yeah. Oh yes. Well, thank you so much then, Tommy. This was
thank you.
Extremely interesting.
Glad to be there.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye.
Let me put it this way, Mr. Raymer. The 9000 series is the most reliable computer ever made. No 9000 computer has ever made a mistake or distorted information. We are all, by any practical definition of the words, foolproof and incapable of error.